Welcome back to the Rebel's Edge. In fact, the final Rebel's Edge of the week, because as most of you viewers and listeners know, we do this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, but not Thursday this week because it's Thanksgiving. And Pete and I will tell you what we're thankful for when we come back from this brief introduction on the Rebel's Edge. Bang.
All right.
Well, hey, it's Thanksgiving time, Pete.
It looks like Christmas.
Yeah. For those of you who saw News Nation with Colin McShane, it's actually not Colin, of course, it's Connell. But he and I have a running joke about that. Anyway, it was ships, planes, and automobiles for me yesterday, Pete, as I came up from nice, warm 84-degree Puerto Rico to cold and gray Minneapolis that dropped another 20 degrees once I got here. And then you look outside and there's nothing but snow out there, Pete.
Welcome to Minnesota. I got to tell you, John, it rained all day, right? So I think we got like 2-3 inches of rain. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. And then, that was hitting, and it was about 55 degrees on the high end, and then it started to drop. And but next thing you know, it's like 27 degrees, and that rain that was continuing turned into sleet and then snow. So I don't know, what do we got? 2-3 inches out there, maybe something like that, and a hell of a lot of wind blowing it around. So, you know what? Like I said, welcome to Minnesota.
I'm thankful we got here safe. I'm thankful that we're going to enjoy a great Thanksgiving over at Pete and Loop's again. But and I gave her a big shout about her charcuterie tray, Pete, on News Nation yesterday with Connell McShane. And Pete will be on this afternoon with Connell McShane, I think, right, Pete?
Yep. This afternoon, he asked me to be on there, and I'm looking forward to it. He's always a fun guy to talk with, John, because he's got a good sense of humor along with everything that's so serious. It's good to have a sense of humor out there. He's got a good one.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into macro, Pete, for the last Rebel's Edge of the week. And I'll say, hey, global markets higher on expectations of a Federal Reserve interest rate cut. Those expectations, of course, were boosted by what Pete and Justin talked about yesterday, the PPI, as well as maybe consumer confidence, Pete, because it's been flagging, as they say, as we headed into Thanksgiving, mainly because of the government shutdown, I think, Pete. But the fact that we're going to get more economic data from how consumer spending goes into Black Friday, that's probably going to help turn things around. And I don't think it's only interest rates. I think it's that we've reopened the government, Pete.
I think you're exactly right, John. Reopen the government, and this whole thing with what the PPI number looked. People very excited about that. As a matter of fact, it immediately jumped as far as the CME tool that we look at. I was on with Maria Bartiromo yesterday, and fortunately, I did say, hey, I think this could be extremely bullish. We've been bullish. I think this is going to continue that bullish side, and it's exactly where we are right now. So got a little lucky with that one. But yeah, still looking at about 83% chance of that cut, John. So that's pretty important, and I think that it's probably as good as done, but you never know till it actually happens. We got a little bit of time in between from now until the Fed actually delivers.
Well, let's dive into futures, Pete. I'll say the 3% rally out of silver is noteworthy, as is the move in copper. Copper's up about 2%. Silver's up over 52, Pete. It's 52.55 right now. The futures are. And so I know you can't get that when you go to a numismatic store or wherever you might buy or sell your silver. But nonetheless, that's one of the highest readings we've seen in a long time.
Oh yeah, the Burl Ives trade is on fire, John. The gold, silver and gold, silver and gold, right? He's licking that pick going, nothing. Anyway, it is amazing. When you look at gold up 61% year to date, you say, wow. Then you look over at silver, it's up 81% year to date, John. So yeah, this move today just added to this whole thing. And real quickly, I'll just hit on the VIX a little bit. Back underneath 18, down about 5% today. And oh, by the way, down 25% over the last 5 days for the VIX. So we talked about sustainability. There is none above 20, and it's playing out right in front of us as we speak.
Well, that's what happens, Pete, when you get nearly a 2,000-point rally out of the Dow from the lows on the 21st, and 1,200 plus points out of the NASDAQ, the Qs. That's a pretty big move, man. Those are big moves. And we'll see what happens after we get these retail sales estimates that start coming out almost at midnight tonight, Pete, depending how fast people are pulling them in.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at Urban Outfitters. This is one of the kinds of stores that we'll be looking for some data from. They're up 14% today, Pete, because lifestyle, well, yeah, Anthropologie, Urban Outfitters, Free People, those are all some of their brands, Pete. And they have been really crushing it, apparently. And that's why we're seeing that big 14% move early on today. And Anthropologie, I guess, is contributing in a big way. But all of their versions of Urban Outfitters are really contributing to this.
Yep, nice big move. By the way, you got great people in the background back there. I see a young lady and I see a dog in the background. So that's fantastic. It's great. By the way, this move that you were just talking about, 14, 15%, whatever it is, nears that really close to the 52-week highs. That's pretty impressive. By the way, PE on this one, John, is a 15. So despite the fact that this thing is screamed to the upside, it's pushing against the 52-week high. You still look at that and you say, wow, they are not stretched by any stretch of the imagination. They had record sales. They had record net income. Their comp sales were absolutely outstanding. You can't say enough about what their quarter looked like. And oh, by the way, for all those people who continue to be that negative side of things saying, well, you know what, people aren't going out. Well, I don't know where they live, but they're in the wrong place, because people are going out. They are opening up their wallets. They are spending on a lot of different things. Sure, there's some trade downs out there. Going like, look at TJ Maxx, did a great job. TJX, unbelievable. Walmart, unbelievable quarter as well. But that, people just don't want to accept the fact that there's still spend going on out there, and this is another one that's proof of it. And this isn't as inexpensive as the Walmart and TJX and some of the rest.
Well, let's take that lead, Pete, right into a non-retailer, but nonetheless an artificial intelligence platform for organizations that help people manage money and so forth. That would be Workday. And Workday was down as much as 12%. It's right now down, I think, under 10%. But nonetheless, these guys, their guidance, Pete, and we talk about guidance a lot, because if you've got a business like Workday and people can find a way to cut back on the use of that platform because they're a little worried maybe about what's going on with the government shutdown at the time, because keep in mind, these are looking backwards, the earnings themselves, but then looking forward, they've got to try to project if they can, and if they do, because a number of them have withdrawn guidance, but if they do provide guidance, then that means they have to basically put on their that crystal ball and say, what do we see going forwards? Well, they didn't see good enough, and that's why the stock was moving down by 10%.
Yeah, they had some corrections on some things, John, some of it having to do with forecast and so forth. And, it didn't stop the analysts from going in there and jumping on that bandwagon. As a matter of fact, whether it's KeyBank or RBC or whoever, reducing some of their price targets and so forth. So Workday, interesting. They're doing well. They've got, they're giving the AI platform for solving business challenges that are out there. But I think that the reality is that maybe just a little bit of what they've done, maybe a little bit in front of themselves, and that's why the stock is maybe getting hit, I think, to the downside. I'll tell you what, I'd get more and more interested in looking at this one. Love to see some unusual option activity to point us in the right direction of this one, John, because overall, I liked what they were able to put up. But there was a couple of blips here and there, and I think that's what those analysts were jumping on top of. But, year over year, the revenue was still up 14.6%. So they're doing some things right nonetheless, even if they have had to sort of move around some of the numbers for the guide.
Well, we've got another artificial intelligence player, Pete, in the cloud security, which would be Zscaler. Not my favorite pick among the cloud security plays, Pete, but nonetheless, it's down 60 some odd dollars, maybe even more than that. Let's see, 40, yeah, $70 right now from where it was just 2 weeks ago. And so I think that might be creating a bit of an opportunity. I mean, it's application software. Again, this isn't something that, consumers aren't spending. That's not the story here, just like it was not with Workday. It's businesses that are a little worried and so forth. And that's why they're coming in a little light on revenue expectations and things like that. I think they're probably conservative, very conservative with their numbers right now. And that's why I'd say, shoot, $70 cheaper than where it was November 10th. I might get ready to start accumulating a position in this, Pete, because cloud security, man, between data centers and cloud, it's all about security.
Totally agree with you, John. And, I think part of the problem might be that it went up so daggone fast. I mean, when you take a look at this thing, up 60% year to date, it's up 115% over the last 3 years. They've got year over year growth, revenue growth. That part of it's pretty solid. One other sort of negative that I think is playing into this whole thing, John, about AI and where are we with AI and is it a bubble? Zscaler is trading at a 78 PE. So from that perspective, that's kind of bubbly, but they certainly can kind of back that up to some degree in terms of some of the growth that they've got. And, that's one of the things. And cybersecurity certainly is something extremely important that a lot of folks are looking for that. So was their Q2 guide okay? Yeah, but the problem was it was just okay. It wasn't something that was blowing people away. So I like what you were saying, though. I'd keep a close eye on this one as well because of where it was, where it is now, and the pounding that it's taken. All they've got to do is a few things right, and this stock could easily start to recover and start making a pretty nice move to the upside.
Well, we've got, guess what, folks? Another application software sector stock. And no, I didn't just focus on these, but Pete, how do you not when they're the ones making the big moves to the downside? I mean, NTNX, NTNX is a company that is just under severe pressure today, down almost 20%. Basically, cloud software, again, nothing to do with the retail people directly. They could invest in it, but they're not selling their services to retail. They're basically a cloud platform to help organizations build hybrid multi-cloud infrastructure. Does that sound like something that you want for Christmas under the Christmas tree, Pete? Probably
I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, probably not. But this is nonetheless a lot cheaper than it was at the beginning of the year, Pete. It was $63 at the beginning of the year. It was as high back in, what was it, May, as $83, Pete. Right now it's 47 and change. Yeah. And again, I don't think, based on the numbers that we're seeing here, Pete, $705 million is what their forecast is, 705 to 715 going forward. Doesn't sound like people are totally shunning the company, and yet people are shunning the stock in a big way. So again, I think all three of them may create an opportunity for us going forward, and that's why I'm highlighting them here on the Rebel's Edge.
The problem, John, I think is really about the guidance. And that's something that we always talk about. We look at the guidance. It was a little bit lower than expected, and I think that was the main problem. You look across everything else, though, and to your point, it's a pretty solid company. They raised their free cash flow guidance. I kind of like to hear that. They said demand is not an issue. So they've got some issues that they've got to get through. And that's why the guidance, I think, was a little bit softer than what they were looking for. But if it's not a demand issue and it's something that they can correct, I really like where they are sitting right now. And I think, as you pointed out, it's down 17, 20%, whatever it is. Their balance sheet is outstanding. So I think this would be one that not only on the radar, but something that we ought to be looking at very closely, John. On top of that, I would love to see some unusual options come into there. Somebody coming in there with some size saying, you know what, this is too much. This thing's ready to start to react to this in a positive way to the upside. I'd love to see that. You never know when we will or if we will, but certainly if we do, I already know the backdrop and so do you. So that's something we'd probably jump on pretty quickly.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a look, Pete. I think Jared has a little sports video queued up for us. We know how much you guys enjoy these. And this one in particular, I think he does a great job breaking down the potential. Now, these are not finalized yet, folks, because, depending on what happens with Tulane and some of these other schools that may be knocking on the door, depending on how things go, it's not just every conference champion that gets in. You've got to still be ranked in order to get in. But nonetheless, let's take a look and listen to this pretty accurate breakdown of what may be the CFB going forward.
Now that we know the committee's official top 12, let's throw them in a bracket and crown a national champ. Starting off with 12-5, Memphis versus Georgia. This isn't even going to be close. Georgia rolls. Number 9 versus number 8, Oregon versus Texas Tech. A fun matchup. People are sleeping on Texas Tech, and Oregon's got to show me a little bit more. The Red Raiders move on. 11-6, Virginia versus Ole Miss. What a classic matchup. SEC, ACC. Ole Miss, too much firepower, though. 10-7. Notre Dame versus BYU. A couple of religious institutions going toe-to-toe. BYU's been a great story, but this is when it comes to a close. Notre Dame advances. Quarterfinal matchup, Georgia versus Bama. A classic. We've seen this one so many times, including this year when we saw Bama get the best of Georgia, but this time Georgia pulls it off and beats Alabama. Next up, Texas Tech versus Ohio State. The Buckeyes, too much firepower. Texas Tech's had a great season, but this is where it comes to a close versus the defending national champ. Ole Miss versus Texas A&M. Texas A&M, the Aggies have looked so good, but guess what? They haven't been tested as much as the Rebels. Trinidad Chambliss continues to roll behind an Ole Miss defense that gets it done. Give me Ole Miss. Lastly, a rematch of last year's playoffs. Last year, we saw Indiana get embarrassed in South Bend. This time, Indiana gets some revenge. The Hoosiers move on. First semifinal match, Georgia versus Ohio State. We remember a classic at the Peach Bowl in Atlanta where Ohio State was so close to winning that game. Guess what? This one, they do win and advance to the Natty. Other semifinal matchup, Ole Miss continues the run against Indiana, but this time, Kirk Cignetti has his team ready to roll. One of the most complete teams. They send the Cinderella story home of Trinidad Champions. And in the national championship game, a rematch of the Big Ten title, Ohio State versus Indiana. Give me the Hoosiers. They have been the most complete team all season long. People aren't given the respect that Indiana deserves. Ohio State, so close to repeating, but this time the Hoosiers take home the title. Now that we know the committee.
What do you think, Pete? Do you think it could play out just like that, except for that final? I like the Hoosiers against Ohio State, and we're going to see that game anyway, Pete. We're going to see that game because Ohio State, Michigan is Saturday this week, and I think Ohio State gets revenge in that one, and I think they roll through, some of these teams are pretty difficult, but again, I think the matchups that he described are exactly playing into Ohio State's strength.
Yeah, a lot of fun. It's great to see, it's this time of year where everybody can have a lot of fun and move this team around and that team around, and I love it, and there's going to be some upsets in there. Somebody will probably surprise. I think he went with most of the favorites, I would say, but somebody's going to be a surprise. I don't know that it's going to be Indiana over Ohio State. Ohio State is just so damn good, John. Their defense is unbelievable. They've basically been pretty healthy, relatively speaking, for a college football team. Indiana's had a lot of bumps and bruises, unfortunately. So we'll see. I mean, they're really well coached, heck of a football team. I love the coach. I think he does an amazing job of recruiting, but also game day coaching, which is a big key. So tough to pull against them, but I think Ohio State's just that damn good. That defense is unbelievable. They're smothering.
So what you're saying is what Pete's saying is they might be hoisting that trophy for Ohio State.
For the people
All
who don't know,
what else
that's
you
the
got for
quarterback.
sports? That's the quarterback for Ohio State. And if you didn't know it, then you probably should have stopped watching once we finished with sports.
All right, John. So we got Thanksgiving tomorrow. We're excited. We'll have everybody over here and all the rest of it. But Friday is going to be a fun day as well, right? Black Friday. I know a lot of people are going to be walking around at the malls, the Wall of America, and all that kind of stuff. And it's always a lot of fun and a lot to do. But they might want to take a little break or stop into one of those restaurant bars that are in the Mall of America, John, because Georgia Tech is going to be a really fun game, I think. Now, I think Georgia wins the game. Georgia Tech is a really good football team this year. They've got a dual threat quarterback who's been outstanding. They had a really bad showing against Pitt, but the problem was 2 of the 4 interceptions that he's thrown all year were in this last game against Pitt. And that cannot happen because as good as Georgia Tech is, they're not that good that they can turn over the ball, and especially can't do that against Georgia if they do. But that's the early afternoon game. The game after that, John, that I think is really fun. How about Arizona State? Both ranked, both in the Big 12. Both of them are 8-3. They got a quarterback at Arizona, John, that's Noah Fifty, who's 25 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. The guy's pretty damn good. Arizona State is pretty damn good, got a good quarterback. I think those would be 2 really fun games. And then you kick it off into Saturday, Vandy and Tennessee. Obviously, both of them in the state of Tennessee. That could be a pretty cool one. This is pretty unusual, but Vandy, number 14, and Tennessee, number 19. I don't know who ends up with this one, but I think the home team, so I'm going to say Tennessee gets that win. But it's going to be a dogfight either way. What do you think about some of those games? I think those are the 3 best college games going into the weekend.
Yeah, I would agree. Going into the weekend, I'm really looking forward to that Ohio State game.
Ohio State.
I'd say, Pete, Georgia Tech, Georgia should just roll. And that's what the line says. I mean, the betting line is 13.5, I think, in favor of Georgia, of course. So if you go to a prediction market, you might even put together a parlay on these, because I would, Pete. As far as the Arizona State and Vandy, Tennessee, those are basically pick 'em games. I mean, they're 2 points. I know it's not the same as the pick 'em, but nonetheless, 2 points. In other words, they're a lot closer than people think Georgia Tech are going to be. So if you wanted to, if you went with a 3-team parlay on a Kalshi or a Poly Market, Pete, I think you could be a happy camper. I'd take Georgia to beat them by more than 13. I would take the Wildcats over the Sun Devils, and I'll take Tennessee over Vandy.
I like it. I like bringing in the bets too. It's always kind of fun. I'm involved in way too many of those things right now. They're confusing as hell. All right. How about the NFL, John? You and I talk about a lot of things, and you and I are very close on certain things, especially Shedeur Sanders. And I bring up the name because you obviously have a daughter who went to Colorado and all the rest of it, and had an opportunity to be there with Dion and his kids and all that, and it's pretty cool. Here's the one issue I've got, so I'll lay it out there to you because everybody's so excited, and this happens all the time in the NFL. I mean, somebody does one thing and suddenly it's the greatest thing ever. So everybody really wants to see Shedeur continue to be the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. Why is that? Because they won a game, and they beat a huge opponent in the Raiders. I'm exaggerating because they stink. The Raiders are about as bad as they get, and Shedeur and them won the game. But it wasn't really Shedeur, John. I mean, if you really take a look at that game, here's some of the stats. He's in 2 games that he's played, 41% completion. Now, everybody's screaming that he should be the starter. He's got a 41% completion, 256 yards. He's got 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. That's what his numbers are as of 2 games. Now, Dylan Gabriel, on the other hand, has 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and 59% completion. I don't really know how you make the decision. And by the way, this is a team that won because of their defense. They didn't really win because of the offense, John. They won because of the defense and the fact that the Raiders are the Raiders, which means they have a lot of penalties. How about this? In that game against Cleveland, 13 penalties for 109 yards for the Raiders. That right there, that dog doesn't hunt, because you're not going to win the football game when you've got that many penalties, and some of them are going to be very costly penalties. And I'll tell you what, if you don't think it's the defense for Cleveland that's the winning shoe for them, just take a look at what Myles Garrett has done. Take a look at what that entire defensive line has done. That's what's really carrying this team. But I'm not so sure that Shedur's numbers tell me that he's an absolute starter this coming week just because the team won the game. I don't know that he won the game. What do you think of that?
It's undeniable, Pete. I mean, the only guy that looked worse actually was your guy, JJ McCarthy. But let me throw out some stats that I got from Grok to everybody. Right. So Shadur Sanders, how did he do in his NFL debut, which was week 11 or whatever, week 12? I forget. But anyway, it wasn't at the beginning of the season when everybody's struggling a little bit. It was, when the teams are pretty set and the defenses obviously don't have the advantage that they have early in the season. But nonetheless, his QB rating, Pete, in that first game, 13-3. No, I'm just kidding it, but it wasn't good. Caleb Williams, his first game that he started, 14 of 29, 95 yards passing. That was his first game. Jaden Daniels, 22 of 30, 222 yards. Drake May, 18 of 25, 189 yards. Bo Nix, 16 of 29, 138 yards. These are all first their debuts, folks, in the NFL. Obviously, somebody like C.J. Stroud, Houston, 13 of 26, 242 yards. Seems like they're putting up some interesting numbers here, Pete. Will Levis, Tennessee, a QB rating of 127, even though he was only, in air quotes or scare quotes, 6 of 9 for 69 yards. I mean, I'm not saying that the kid's not good, but I'm saying that, like you said, he didn't play himself into the starting role with this game against the Raiders. That just is not true. But on the other hand, Cleveland ain't going anywhere, even with one of the greats of all time as far as defensive players, Myles Garrett, perhaps going to break the single season sack record, 22, I think, or 22 and a half, whatever it is, Pete. And the kid is just unstoppable. But the Browns aren't going anywhere. So I would play him to get the experience, Pete, and then figure out, okay, because you didn't have to give up anything for him. You got him in the 5th round. If he can't finish the season out from here and do well, if he doesn't, get any better, then you just cut him. Just cut him. Don't even let it be a problem anymore. But on the other hand, if he picks up a little from the NFL experience, maybe you can trade him, or you decide to keep him and make him a project. But either way, I don't think the play is to basically bench him now. You either put him out there and let him finish as much of the season as you can, or you basically just say, well, it's a 5th round pick. Who cares?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And he's got to show a little bit better than he has so far. But you know what? Why not give him a couple of opportunities? I'm not against that at all. I just find it crazy that all these guys are just immediately jumping on the bandwagon because Cleveland won the game. And they're playing one of the worst teams in football. And he had a pretty terrible game. All you got to do is look at the numbers. They speak for themselves. So the defense won that football game. But why not try him out? Let him play a few games. See what he does. Maybe he actually steps up and he looks like he did at Colorado. You never know, but time will tell. He's an interesting guy, and he's definitely got a pretty decent ego. So we'll have to see how this all plays out.
He's legendary.
Yes.
That was a little bit of a reach when he came out with that one, Pete. Legendary. All right. Well, From Pete and I, we wish all of you a great Thanksgiving. We hope you can celebrate it healthy and happy with family and friends. Any other closing comments from you, Pete?
Nah, just have a great weekend. Have some turkey, have some great football, and do a little shopping. I'll tell you what, I think people are going to take me up on the shopping too.
I think they are. Well, thanks for joining us, folks. We'll be back Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, bang. Have a great Thanksgiving.